All right, welcome to Romance Happy Hour. We're here on another Thursday. Tonight I'm joined by co-hostess Kelly again. Thank you, Kelly, for being with me again tonight.
Always a pleasure.
Well, likewise. I think Dawn is going to be back next week. I don't know that for sure, but we're hoping Dawn will be back next week. So, although now they're getting, I think, like flooded out in Yellowstone, and she's in Montana. So we'll have to see if Dawn is floating away or if Dawn will be back next week. So, yeah, poor Dawn. She's had a lot going on lately. But thank you for stepping in and filling her cute shoes. We appreciate it. And we are here tonight with Christi Barth and Liz Crowe. So welcome, both of you. I know we were just talking before we went live about whether or not we were all melting. So I'm going to have you both go ahead and introduce yourselves and let us know what the weather's like in your part of the world. So Liz, you want to go first? I know you.
Sure. Yeah, no problem.
Hot.
Hi. Hi. I'm Liz Crowe. I am in South Carolina, where you expect it to be hot, not right now, and not 100 degrees many days in a row, which is what we're looking at. So it's weird. I mean, I lived in Michigan for so many years, where it's like you have a couple days of nasty hot, and then it breaks and all that. I can deal with that. This is like an unbroken stretch of 100-degree weather, and the air can only work so hard in the house.
Right.
And bonus, I've been 2 weeks without hot water.
Well, you just go outside, right?
Gross. It's gross. It's been a bad 2 weeks, let me tell you.
Why don't you have hot water?
It broke. And supply chains, blah blah blah. Can't get anything.
Yeah.
So we're replacing it with a tankless hot water system.
Okay.
We got all the parts for that, and then couldn't find anybody to install it. Someone is coming. Was supposed to come yesterday, didn't come. Was supposed to come today, didn't come. Or coming tomorrow. We hope.
You look really put together with good hair for not having hot water.
Yeah.
Really short hair.
No, it's cute. It looks good.
That's what I was just thinking. Yeah, especially with all that.
Well, you
humidity.
don't know. Like 2 hours ago, I stuck my head under the really cold water and got it wet.
I mean, if there's a time to go without hot water, I feel like summer's the time to do it.
It's weird, though. It's weird. It's one of those things where you just don't miss it until you don't.
Right.
It's nasty. And everyone in my house is like, oh, ew.
You could just, do it the old-fashioned way and heat up pots of water on the stove.
That's what we're doing. I mean, I actually did that. We do that for the dishes or whatever. I'm like, this sucks. I am not this pioneer woman. No, no. I'm done. So I'm a little cranky, and I'm sorry.
That is quite all right. We hope that we will offer an escape from your household woes for the next 50 minutes or so.
And of course, and I know Kelly, I got a puppy, which I'm questioning my sanity on that, right? So I have a puppy, and I love him, but
he's so cute. He's so cute.
I was gonna put him on screen, but I think he finally fell asleep. So
well, yeah, you never wake like a baby. You never wake a sleeping puppy.
Anyway,
all right, Christi. I was going to say, Christi, how are you?
I feel bad because I have water. Like I don't deserve to be here. I'm good. I am also flushed because I'm feverish after getting a COVID booster, but this is a great distraction. So I'm super excited to sit here and talk about books because then I won't be miserable.
We hope that we can fulfill that promise of keeping you unmiserable for a short period of time here tonight.
A fever dream.
Yeah. It'll just pass in a blur, and tomorrow you'll wonder, did that really happen?
It's like when you're driving home.
Yeah.
We'll have video evidence for you that you were here. So what has been going on with you, Kelly? Have you had any? I saw that you've got some fun stuff going on for Pride Month, and you've got, as always, some cool stuff going on your Instagram and.
Yeah. Summer is shaping up to be pretty fun over at Boobies Noobies. I'm actually trying a few new things this summer. I'm doing my first, I'm calling it my summer special. It's called Slick Summer Nights, which everybody on Instagram got to help choose. So I blame them for the name. And it's that's going to launch in July, and I'm I've recorded a couple episodes of it so far. It's going to be spicy. It's basically a showdown of your favorite steamy scenes. And we do a couple each episode. We have a judge, an impartial judge, decide on what the best one is that day. Although we've said in all the episodes so far that we're all winners here.
Right.
Because just reading them is winning. But yeah, and then I launched.
I was gonna say, what kind of award do you get for that? You get like the slickest,
pure happiness.
I had a guess, but I wasn't sure I could say it.
I mean, we have no secrets here, I guess. But it's been fun so far. So those will come out in July, and then in the meantime, I did just start a new thing on YouTube as well called Tit Talk, because when you have a podcast named Boobies and Noobies. Puppy break!
Yeah, I was going to say, I think we're all about to get upstaged by a puppy.
Hello,
puppy breath.
Okay. Is he some sort of a hound dog? What is he?
He is. Yeah, I don't know. He's a mutt. I don't know. We rescued him.
Oh, he's beautiful.
Yeah,
Adorable.
He's brindle all over. He's very striking. Mostly plot hound, I think, which is like I had to look that up, but it's like some kind of coonhound derivative. I don't know.
Oh,
so yeah,
he's beautiful.
Anyway, sorry. He just ran by, so I grabbed him. I'm sorry to interrupt.
Oh no, puppies take precedence
That's the moment
at all times.
All right. So tonight we are going to hear from Liz first, who's drinking wine instead of beer. We're used to seeing you on Romance Happy Hour with a local craft beer, I think.
No, changing it up tonight. Yeah.
So what are you going to share with us tonight?
My most recent release, which is a book called Win Place Show. It is a derby romance. So I went to school in Louisville. I married a Louisville native. We've been to the derby several times.
Do you have a hat like the one on the cover?
I do. I have 3 of them.
Oh, and you didn't wear one for us tonight?
I didn't. Well, I wore them all when I was doing my derby promo stuff. I should have slapped one on, but anyway. Yeah, so I have some hats, and I've been to Derby, I've been to infield, been to the grandstand, been in been to kind of run the gamut of stuff. So I've always thought it would be fun, some kind of a romance. So I kicked this one around and wrote it last year, and it released this year. So it is a let's see how I would call it old friends to enemies to lovers kind of a story. This couple that knew each other growing up and fell apart when the young man got a look at her as a young woman and freaked out. And then they weren't friends in high school, and then they weren't friends in college, but they have these random hookups and stuff. But she comes back. She moved away from Louisville because she just can't take it because it's too much. But she goes every year. She goes home for Derby weekend, and Derby is a whole weekend. There's a Thursday thing called thurby. There's a Oaks Day, which is Friday, and Derby Day, which is Saturday. So I wrote a book that basically is set over a Derby weekend.
Okay. How fun.
Yeah, so am I reading now? Is that what I'm doing? Okay.
Yes, we are going to leave you to it, and we will be back when you're done. And just for our viewers, I see a couple of you have already popped into the comments. Hi, welcome to Romance Happy Hour. If you do have questions for Liz or Christi, while either one of them are reading, go ahead and pop them in the comments, and Kelly will keep an eye on those. So we will leave you to it, Liz, and we'll be back when you're done.
Thanks. All right, so just to set up, this is Thurby. So this is the Thursday before Derby Day, which is Saturday. And Lucy is the main character, and she's gone to a fundraiser that her parents are putting on, and she's going to run into Nate, who she actually ran into the night before. And if my dog barks, forgive me. Lucy sighed and glanced around, wondering if she dared try hair of the dog to calm her roiling guts and echoing head pain. She started for one of the tables toward the back of the room that would easily seat 300 souls. Where are we? Nope, Mimi snagged her other arm. We're at the head table. I told you this was Mama's event. Why are we doing this and not a Derby Eve party again? She wanted to capture the whole thurby thing and raise a little more money this year, Mimi said, plunking her purse down on a chair that had her name embossed on a little card tent on a charger plate. You're there. Stacy and Neil are there. She pointed toward chairs on Lucy's other side. And I'm here. The oh so familiar deep voice hit her brain. Lucy froze, still facing Mimi, whose grin widened. Well, hi there, Nate. How are you doing this fine day? Lucy closed her eyes. I'm just fine, Mimi. Thanks for asking. Hey, Stacy. Neil. She kept her back to him, unwilling, unable, or simply too scared to turn toward him. She'd acted like a spoiled child the night before and was paying the price today, but this was beyond the pale. Remind me why he's here, Mama, she asked of the woman who'd glided up, trailing friends and minions like so much smoke. Because, darling, his gin is in all the featured drinks for the event. Nate, you're looking very dapper today, isn't he, Lucille? Mama, she whispered, her teeth clenched. What? I'm not going to invite the man who offered to donate every drop of alcohol for this event? What do you take me for? A sucker, and a deluded one at that. She turned to watch Nate compliment her mother and sister, who were both preening like birds. Luce, he said, taking her hand. You look. His expression was a weird mix of confusion and admiration. Gorgeous as always. That's a good color for you. He kissed her knuckles and held out her chair. I need a drink. She plopped, in a most unladylike fashion, into her cushioned chair. Your wish, Nate signaled for a server who scurried right over. What if I don't want a gin drink? Don't be bitchy, Mimi said. I'll have a gimlet. A French 75, Lucy said, not giving Nate the benefit of another glance. Classy. Make it 2. Now, if you ladies will excuse me, I need to work the room. He leaned close to Lucy's ear, his warm breath tickling her skin. I'll be right back, though. He touched her shoulder, then pressed his lips to a spot on her neck just beneath her ear he discovered last year during this weekend, something that made her blush as he deemed it her new G-spot, a detail she dearly wished her brain had not coughed up at that moment. Don't hurry back, she muttered, turning to face him before he actually moved away. Their lips brushed. She leaned far back away from him, frowning. You did that on purpose. Maybe. He let his fingertips trail along her shoulder and bare arm, as if they weren't in a room full of people, a full third of them watching closely while pretending not to. I had fun last night, even though you ran off. Huh, she said, turning away. Go, work your damn room. He grinned, touching the brim of his straw fedora he wore. His blue and white seersucker suit fit him in such a way that should be declared illegal. Damn the man, anyway. Her blue get-up matched his, of course. Her mother had probably planned her entire weekend's wardrobe in cahoots with him. Lucy sipped her sweet, boozy cocktail, never taking her eyes off Nate as he made his way through the crowd, laughing, kissing hands, slapping shoulders, and generally being the natural social butterfly she'd always admired. He looks nice, Mimi said, her eyes wide and innocent. Lucy turned to glare at her. Oh, better watch out for that one, though, Mimi said, tilted her gimlet glass down toward the crowd. What? Who? She sipped slowly, savoring the retreat of her headache. Par for her course, she always drank way too much on these weekends, so much so that she'd always take a 2-month booze detox afterward. But given her ultra-sensitive Nate Hawthorne radar, she'd already identified exactly what and who her sister was talking about. A woman had joined Nate on his glad-handing circuit of the large room. Said woman reminded Lucy of an overeager grad student latched onto Scott in the way they tended to do. Sad, really. She felt bad for them. Starstruck, without a shot of anything but a mercy pat on the head and a be on your own way now. Her eyes narrowed when Nate turned to the woman who really ought to eat something, or she might very well blow away in a high wind. Her long mane of blonde hair and perfectly made-up face shone in the light of his direct attention. Lucy kept sipping her boozy drink, watching as something inside her chest took hold of her heart and squeezed it like a wet rag. He kept smiling at the woman. Now he had his arm around her and leaned down to whisper something in her ear. Something that had quite the effect, Lucy noted as she rose to her feet, half without realizing it, until she felt Mimi's hand on her arm. A chic-looking couple walked up to Nate and his arm candy. He removed his arm from around the woman's skinny waist and stuck his hand into his trouser pocket. Arm candy Barbie clutched at him possessively while they all nodded, smiled, and talked, no doubt about how much the two women loved their spinning classes and hot yoga. Lucy, Mimi said, what do you... Hold my beer, she said, handing her half-finished drink to her sister. I have to take care of something. She patted her lips with a soft napkin, then made her way from the head table over to where Nate stood, head thrown back in a loud laugh, with the sweet young thing still barnacled to his side. Lucy fixed a smile on her face, sucked in a huge breath, and stepped up to Nate's other side. Hey, y'all, she said to the group in general. Nate flinched and tried to move away from little Miss Starstruck, but she wasn't going without a fight. Hey there, Lucy, Nate's skinny little honey doll replied as she touched Lucy's fingertips with hers. Gosh, I feel like the only time we ever see you is Derby weekend. It is, she said. Nice to see you both. Hope to catch you again real soon. If you'll excuse me, I need to drag my date away for a teensy little minute. She peered around Nate's torso and locked eyes with the woman hanging on for dear life. Oh, I'm sorry. Did you not hear me? I said I need my date. She plucked the girl's bony fingers from around Nate's biceps. Go on, back to your romer's table. Shoo. She kept her voice light and made a shooing motion with her fingers while dragging Nate away with her other hand. She pulled him into a different crowd of people, many of whom she'd known her entire life, but damned if she could remember any names at the moment. Her heart was pounding. Her head was pounding. She needed to get back to her drink, but she stood beside Nate, making small talk as she barely heard, her hand tucked into the crook of his elbow. There you go.
Yay! Derby.
Unmute everybody. Thank you. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah. I don't know if I actually told you this before, Liz, but since Win Play's show came out, I did a virtual trivia night with friends recently. And one of the questions had to do with I don't know if it was the Derby itself or just horses in general, but like the question was, if you come in third, like what is the title? Right. And I was like, oh my God, I know this from reading this book. And that is the only reason I knew it.
See, who says you can't learn a lot from reading romance novels, right?
That's right.
Oh yeah, no. We had a few questions in the chat. I thought this was interesting. Linda asked, what other authors are you friends with and how do they help you become a better writer?
Let's see. Gosh, I had, when I was in Michigan, I had a whole slew of friends, writer friends. I've moved around a fair bit in the last couple of years. So I'm hoping to reconnect with people in person here in South Carolina because there's a lot of them here in South Carolina. But Beverly Jenkins was a sort of a friend of mine, and we talked a fair bit. We did some events together in Michigan. Obviously, she's way above my pay grade, but she was awesome to talk to, and a total inspiration. And my mind is blanking, but there was several of us, a couple of women who write for Harlequin. Elizabeth Hyder is one of them, and Dana. Drawn a complete blank right now. She has a group too called Cupcakes, and she has a really cool group on Facebook as well. But of course, this being 2022, most of your friends are virtual, right? You're online with a lot of people, talking to a lot of people. And I have found some great critique partners that way, and recently have found a couple of authors who were sort of being accountability partners for each other. It's less about critiquing at this stage and more about, hey, did you write those words you said you were going to write? Because, right now that's kind of my problem, is staying motivated. It's hard. I've been at it for 11 years now. And, you hit a point where you're like, okay, is this ever going to kind of break loose for me, or is this still just going to be a hobby? You know what I mean? So staying motivated is a big thing. And I've found a couple of cool accountability partners through Twitter. And we just check in with each other. We're like, it's cool that you don't have to be a big star to continue to write. You can continue to write because you just enjoy doing it. And getting back to that enjoyment is kind of what I'm looking for right now.
Yeah, no, great point. I have a few friends who have self-published for the first time this year, and have most of them been very, disappointed when there wasn't like an immediate turnaround on profit. And everybody just kind of keeps reminding them, this is a long game. This is about sticking with it and keep going. Yeah. And so that's, as somebody who wants to write, I found that to be like a tidbit to like tuck away in my pocket for another day.
It is. And the thing is too, I have a couple, here's what's really weird is I have a fair number of writer friends online that I read, because my second favorite genre is thrillers. And I love Adrienne McKenty, and I love Don Winslow, who writes sort of procedural stuff, but also some thrillers. And they've been pretty cool to me, and they're like way like 8,000 leagues above me, but they're just like, this is just, you just keep at it,
There is no above with friends.
Well, you know what I mean?
Yes.
Well, you know what I mean, though. I mean, they're just, they are, they don't have to talk to me, but they do, which is super cool.
They do because they adore you. It's they need from you what you need from them. They really have something different.
Right. Well, and I get, and my side bonus from them is I get ARCs for their now New York Times #1 best-selling books. And I read them like 6 months ago, which was super cool.
That was written by my best friend, Beverly Jenkins.
Yes,
I already read it.
Read it.
Christy, how about you?
I feel like you can't do this without the community that you pull together. I used to belong to several chapters of Romance Writers of America. One of my chapters just disaffiliated, the other didn't. It's all complicated, but whether they are affiliated or not, romance writing chapters are fantastic. And put all the other stuff aside. A place, if you're lucky enough to have them locally, where you can connect. I mean, one of the friends from my local chapter, I didn't know her well, and we connected via Twitter once we followed each other, and then we became great friends. I have another set of friends that we meet every 2 weeks for 4 hours on a weekend morning around kids' schedules and what have you. And we it's like we talk for 45 minutes, we sprint for 45 minutes, we talk, we sprint, and then we have our big weekend word count done.
Nice.
And it also gives you someone to complain about your publisher to, and to bounce titles off of and say, I'm having this plot problem. So you really need to lean on your community. You can't do it yourself.
Yep.
Well, now I want to hear from Dylann too. I want to hear, all this is like excellent advice. So I'm just like, let's hear it all around.
Well, and my friends are New York Times bestsellers too, and I am not. So that's why I'm saying, no, they need me. Forget all that.
Yeah.
Well, and I think both of you are absolutely right. I think the romance writing community is one of the most open, the most supportive. I mean, we see a lot of things that, kind of bubble up on social media about things that have gone bad, or, there can be drama, but I would say overall, in my experience, that's been, minimal compared to the amount of support and just that sense of, people really do want to see you succeed.
And it's not just your experience. Members of the Mystery Writers Association and the Science Fiction and Fantasy Association and non-genre, just like Maryland Writers Association, they all say there's nothing like the romance community out there, because we know our readers do not just want one book. You're not fighting someone else for readers. Your readers want 57 books in a week and will be pissed that you can't provide it.
Right.
So it's okay to be friends.
Well, and I mean, you hit the nail on the head, not to be, super cliche, use a major cliche there, but you're exactly right, because some of our readers, a lot of the romance readers, are super voracious. And so, even if you're the fastest writer in the world, you still cannot write a complete novel as fast as, our readers can read them. And so, I think that there's room for everybody, and I think it kind of ebbs and flows. And you hear like vampires aren't hot right now, and so maybe clean romance, which I know we all have our feelings about the term clean. I don't know why that one popped into my head, but it's kind of like it's cyclical, and so no matter what you want to write, and kind of where your space is in the romance world, I feel like there's a time and a room for everybody. So
yeah,
I won't name drop because I don't have names to drop so much, but I will say that finding those little groups, especially a lot of them over the past couple of years have been online, but I did recently go to like a business mastermind retreat for authors out in Rhode Island, and there were, I think, 12 of us. And so it's when you find groups.
I'm so jealous.
It was amazing. It was absolutely amazing. But when you find groups that, you're all kind of, again, cliche on the same page, but you all are at that point in your.
That's all you get. We're cutting you off on those.
No more puns. No more puns.
No more puns. All right. But, you're all kind of at that same stage or at that same place where you're looking for the same things. And so, when I first started, it was kind of a hobby and I was just kind of getting into it. And so, the people that I talked to then were more, like you said, Liz, like critique partners. And, we were all just kind of trying to figure things out. And then as you progress and you write more and you meet people through, different publishers or different writing groups and things like that, your needs change. And I think, being able to find people at kind of every place is really, it's super unique in this industry.
A cohort.
And you help each other because then you do anthologies together and broaden your reach even more and become new friends. It's just fantastic.
Yep.
Yeah. I know it's not exactly the same thing, but in with podcasting, it's very similar in that we try to lift each other up as opposed to think of each other as like competition. That, we might all be talking about romance, but we're all bringing to it a very specific POV that's different from each other's. So you might like mine for this, but you might like somebody else's because they cover historical or paranormal. So yeah, it's all about how you frame the point of view, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Good question though. I know that was the long.
And if it takes us that long to answer each question, we're going to be here all night. So just.
Well, how about a quicker question for you? Well, I would like to hope it is. But somebody asked, let me see if I can find it. I know Linda had a couple other questions. Sherry had one though. Oh, I liked this question from Sherry. If you could choose to be one of your characters for a day, who would you choose?
I have an answer.
Oh, great. Go for it.
It's called The Sexy Misadventures of Royals, about a royal family. I would be the princess.
Princess for a day. There you go.
What would you do? What would be the first thing you do if you were a princess for a day?
So my first book in the trilogy is about an American who is told, you're the missing princess. And she doesn't want it. She's like, I don't want tiaras. I want to wear my jogging pants. And my response is, I want the tiara. I would go and visit all the crown jewels and I would try them all on. And I would have a butler bring me tea. And yes, I'm just that shallow. No, I wouldn't want to do it every day. But if I only had one day, I would waste it on all the fun stuff.
Right.
I have that book on my bookshelf.
There's a tiara eventually, but I like book 3.
Yeah.
How about you, Liz?
Wow. Gosh. I'm thinking back on my I feel like I write a lot of characters that have done things or have had my experiences before. So I kind of that's a tough one.
You've been there, done that already?
Kind of, I guess. I'm trying to think if it's, I don't know. The whole thing with Win Play Show, a lot of it was, the fashion was like a character in this book, and it was fun. It's just fun to dress up. And I would love to, like, because she literally just walks into her house and her mother already has picked out her clothes because her mother thinks she has no taste. So she's got outfits for Thursday at the track, Friday at the track, and Derby Day at the track. So that would be cool. That would be fun, just to walk in and be like, oh, the hat, the dress, the shoes, already picked out. Cool.
I
love a good theme. Yeah.
We're all about dress up.
Yeah. There's nothing wrong with that. Dylan, do you know who yours would be?
I was worried you were going to ask me to answer this question also. So I think a lot of my characters already embody that hot mess lifestyle that is mine already. And so, yes. But there is one of my characters that is not that much like me, and that is Jinx in Cowboy Christmas Jubilee. She's like a blue-haired, she rides a motorcycle, and she ends up with, the single dad, deputy sheriff, and all that. But I think I would like to be Jinx for a day because I don't know how to ride a motorcycle. There's a long story about the one time I did, and I ran into a palm tree and ended up with stitches our first day in California on vacation and couldn't go in the water for 2 weeks. So, Hot mess, yes. But I think
Mhm.
Jinx would be able to ride a motorcycle
You
without
could do a
getting
blue streak
stitches.
in your hair, just like one. See
Yeah,
how you
and
like
blue
it.
goes great with blonde.
Well, I'm not a natural blonde, as I'm sure most people probably could guess if they looked at that spot right on top. I did have pink at the bottom of my hair one time because I
Ooh.
have a couple girls and they wanted, one had blue and one had purple. And so we were having fun. And of course, I put the pink in the bottom of mine, but it just fades too fast. So,
Mhm.
but maybe I'll do that again, because it is summer and I'm feeling just a little
Spicy.
wild, Kelly. Yeah, feeling a little wild.
See, you want to dress up too. Yours is just like a more like badass blue hair dress up kind of thing.
Right.
Leather jacket.
Yeah. I'm here for all of it. Well, we have a few
Do we
more
have any other
questions.
questions? Or do we want to let Christi read?
Yeah, let's save them for after Christi.
Okay.
So I don't
right.
want to be greedy. I noticed Liz only took 5 minutes. I have 2 readings that are 5 minutes each. So you tell me if at this point you only want me to do one.
No, you can read. And Liz took longer than 5 minutes.
The first time you meet me, I save that for later.
I mean, we won't cut you off unless you go a really long time. And then I'll send Kelly on the screen and she'll interrupt you.
Get out. No, I say go for one and then we'll see what happens.
You're gonna love it. All right, so I'm gonna go in chronological order. The first book is called Hottie On Her Shelf, and it comes out on July 11th. So everybody get excited, and it's the start of a small town series, rom-com series set in coastal Maine. And basically, it starts with the heroine waking up the day after her birthday, hungover, and her best friend's like, "Oh, I forgot to tell you about the last birthday present I got you. I put your name on the ballot to run for mayor." And they're cutting it. You can't quit because they're like cutting it off in an hour. And the Montgomerys have owned and run the town for like 200 years. And she is not a Montgomery. And she's like, "Well, I can't do this. I'm the librarian." So she runs to City Hall to take her name off the ballot and overhears the mayor and his campaign manager saying less than nice things about her. So she decides, "Oh no, I'm going to do this. It is on." And that's, the conceit of the whole book is the two of them running against each other. She's from the wrong side of the tracks. He's the privileged, wonderful, charming, blonde-haired idol. And so this starts after he hears her friends talking about him after she's trying to figure out how exactly is she going to do this. It's still the first day and, reality is setting in with panic.
All right. We will leave you to it and we will be back when you're done. Do you have a cover to show us or do you not have a copy yet?
It's online. I do not have.
No, that's totally fine. I am springing that on you.
On my Instagram from like 2 days ago. I'm sorry. Cool. It's adorable.
All right. We will put it in the comments afterwards. So, all right. We'll be back.
Call me Halle. Okay, Halle. You can call me Mr. Mayor. He waited precisely 2 beats. And of course, my tablet froze right then. Long enough for her outrage to flare to life before laughing again. "I'm pulling your leg. Call me Fitz." So that was how it was going to be? Well, she could be equally laid back. Halle pulled out a wooden chair and sat, crossing her legs, and was inordinately relieved she'd gone home and changed into clean clothes before arriving. "You enjoy laughing at my expense?" He walked right into that one. And come to think of it, the previous one, "If you give me a perfect setup, I'm going to spike the ball." He hinged forward from the waist. "I'm also going to assume that you get that sports reference despite all the librarian cliches." How had he known? She jerked in surprise. The wedge sandal she'd been attempting to casually dangle from her toes fell off completely, because apparently the universe had decided that it was to be an all-you-can-eat buffet of humiliation in front of this man. "You spent the day researching me, going through my yearbooks?" Now Fitz jerked, jackkniffing right up off the table. "What? That's creepy. No, I spent the day doing all the glamorous mayoral stuff you want to take over. Why do you think I yearbook stalked you?" Whoops. She could not get a read on this man. Halle toyed with her bracelet, heavy with bookish charms. I was captain of my high school volleyball team." Another laugh almost slipped from his lips. Fitz choked it back at her steely glare. That's a handy coincidence. Too much of one for her liking. And now that he was standing, he positively towered over her. Fitz had to be more than a few inches over 6 feet. Tipping her head back, which felt ludicrous, she asked, "Why'd you assume I'd get the volleyball reference if you didn't go scrabbling through my past?" "I was making a point. Attempting to, anyway, of not just seeing you as a librarian cliche." "Oh, that was thoughtful. polite. Damn it. Plus, she still owed him an apology for spouting off with her friends where everyone and their dog could hear. It was necessary. Wow, you can tell I haven't done a reading in 2 years now. I just made the page 800 sizes bigger than it ought to be. I'm so sorry about this. It was necessary to give him something to make it right. I appreciate that. I do embody some of the ubiquitous traits of my career. A love of reading, a preference for tea over coffee, and I occasionally take myself a bit too seriously. His lips twisted downward. The veneer of charm cracked. Whereas there are some who say I don't take myself seriously enough. There was a certain hollowness to his words, a shuddering coldness to his blue eyes. Suddenly, unequivocally, Halle knew that someone had hurt him, and it made Fitz Montgomery a tiny bit more approachable to her. She tucked her hands beneath her thighs. Sounds like Goldilocks would say that what Swan Cove needs is a third candidate. Do you have a daily goal to hit of book references to slip into conversation? Of course. You only get one under-target day per week. Anything more than that and you get dinged. 3 of them and my librarian's license gets pulled. Fitz put his hands over his heart, staggered back a few steps until his shoulder blades hit the toucan on the vintage Guinness poster. Stop the presses. You got my joke and you built on it and volleyed it back. Another sports metaphor. Do you have a daily goal to hit of slipping those into conversation? Laughter roared out of him, and after only a second, Halle joined in, because that exchange hadn't been about maintaining their adversarial distance. It had just been fun. He pushed off the wall, straightened the poster behind him, then extended his hand. How about we start over? Halle stared down at the long fingers, at how his cuff was caught on the big platinum and navy-faced watch, at the dusting of blonde hair just below the edge of the cuff. There was something about the forearms and wrists on a man, like a caffeine shot to her libido. That extended hand had danger written all over it. She sighed. What would be the point? We're always going to be on opposite sides. Fitz slid his hand into his pocket, smooth as a runway model. Always? You're already planning to hold a lifelong grudge against me? At most, shouldn't it only last the month until the election? I'm polite. I donate blood, give to charities, help little old ladies across the street. She wriggled back into her sandal, then pointed her toe to draw a line across the green carpet. As far as right now is concerned, that month is all that matters. You're over there, I'm over here. He stroked his chin. It had just enough dark blonde 6 o'clock shadow to be as sexy as his wrists. Do you want to bring back witch trials? Don't be ridiculous. Me neither. Extending a finger, he tapped it against his lips, which were as sexy as the aforementioned stubble and wrists. She wanted to touch it all. How about the speed limit along Main Street and Beach Road? Good with it? The slower speed is to protect the heavy pedestrian traffic in those areas. It's both reasonable and appropriate. Agreed. Plus, we rake in a ton on speeding tickets, not just tourists either. The ticket fines cover the cost of resurfacing and filling in potholes. Huh. So the mayor was more than a pretty face. An impeccably proportioned, handsome as hell face. While still an adversary, he'd at least be an interesting one. And then, if I can make my recalcitrant tablet pull up the other book. The other book I'm super excited about. I've wanted to write paranormal romance for as long as I've been writing, and I was always told, no, the paranormal market is dead, and nobody would let me do it. And now finally I got to. So it's a short series about the Nephilim. It's a real thing. Well, I mean, real in myths and legends. They're half angels, half men, descended from the fallen angels. And my book, Imperfect Angel, comes out in October, and it's about the Nephilim who discover that there's keepers to the keys to the gates of hell's prison. And when the keeper dies, the key gets passed to the next human to watch it. And there's a 2-week period where really bad stuff can happen if the new keeper isn't installed. And their job is to protect the new keeper and make sure everything goes right. Nothing's going to go right because it's a paranormal rom-com.
Right.
With hijinks.
Yeah, it's, well, world-ending hijinks, because if the gates to hell's prison don't stay locked, all the bad things come out, overflow the earth into the world. It's how you do. So I also discovered that when you have a paranormal romance, you can only read from like the first 2 chapters because there's way too much explanation as you get deep into the book. So this is also very cute. My 87-year-old pure warrior, soldier, alpha, Nephilim angel meeting this human who has no idea what this weird key is that she just inherited from an uncle she didn't even know existed. And that's where we start.
All right. So we are going to let you read that because, I wasn't sure if you were going to keep going, but I think the way that you set that up, you teed that up, that if you don't read it, we're all
We
gonna
have to let you keep
be
going
disappointed.
after that.
All right. Here we go.
This was the new keeper. This beautiful, warm woman who looked like she'd invite him inside even if he told her he was on the run from a robbery. She was too trusting, too open, too young, too vibrant. And no, he had not been thinking too tempting. Hello, I'm Reese Boyce. Nice to meet you. I'm Maisie Norgate. She stuck out her hand. There were streaks of bright blue paint across the back of it. His hand swallowed hers, but she gave a firm shake. Is this random introduction day? Did you move in next door? The beacon cut off its pings in his wrist as soon as they touched. Sad to say that I'm not your new neighbor. Thinking to himself, I'm here to ask you to please prevent unspeakable horrors from being unleashed. She gave him an obvious and unapologetic once-over. I'm a little sad about that, too. Always smart to keep your enemies close, and hot men tall enough to change light bulbs without a ladder even closer. Her bubbly giggle ricocheted off the mounted light straight at him. It was potent. Reese stretched up to curl his fingers around the gutter hanging just off the eave. You should see me in action stringing Christmas lights. I'd finish before your cocoa's cooked enough to sip. She glanced down at where his shirt had undoubtedly ridden up. He'd worn a basic gray polo. Nothing flashy, nothing creepy. That's an intriguing visual, but it's only May. What can you do for me now? Reese let his arm drop. A few answers leapt to mind. Flirting would be fun, maybe even a smart way to get her to let down her guard and hand over the key, but it could take too long. I'm actually here to ask you a favor. She fisted her hands on her hips, lips pursed. Well, you're too big to be a Boy Scout. You clearly aren't trying to hawk a giant tin of popcorn, and you're not a Mormon missionary hoping I'll favor you with an on-the-spot conversion. How do you know? They always come in pairs. Maisie lifted her chin. Her eyes, unusual with a ring of green around brown, sparkled with amusement. Plus, I got you checking me out while I checked you out. No point in either of us denying it. Busted. You're obviously handsome, she continued. You've got that whole knife-sharp cheekbone thing going on mixed with all that thick hair, so whatever you are selling, I'd be interested in a sample. Reese hadn't been on a date in, well, at least half a decade. Not since they'd been caught off guard by that nest of alligator demons. It had been too close. He tripled down on strategies and training and security. Dating was a distraction from duty. Sure, he had needs. Hookups took care of those. Whether at a bar here in town or better yet after an assignment ended in a foreign country. Nothing was clearer about not being available for a repeat performance than mentioning your flight boarded in an hour. The new keeper of the key was off limits, though, both for hookups and anything more. It'd be distracting. Dangerous. Thoughtless. Plus, Gideon and Xavier would never let him hear the end of it. So while he'd very much like to take her up on whatever she was offering, his answer would have to be no. Hellfire. He shoved his hands into his pockets. Not selling anything. And sadly, I'm under a time constraint. No time for any sort of sampling. That's a pity. Agreed. Did his voice deepen with promises he couldn't keep? Yeah. She just looked like a strawberry mint, sweet and refreshing. Reese knew he'd spend tonight thinking about the taste he didn't get of her. So since you're none of those things, what can I do for you? Car breakdown? Need a phone? Calf cramp you can't walk off? Or do you just need a good old-fashioned pep talk to start your day? Reese rubbed a hand across the back of his neck. She was bubbly. The woman practically sweated sunshine and rainbows. Even her name, Maisie, was ridiculously happy. It wasn't a stretch to assume the previous keeper hadn't trained her, let alone even clued her in. Which meant it fell to him. Well, it had been a fun 2 minutes while it lasted. Still striving for casual and or non-threatening, Reese asked, Did you recently receive an inheritance? Maisie took a small step back and arched one bright red eyebrow. Are you stalking just me, or do you follow the funeral section in the newspaper like all those apartment hunters in Manhattan? She asked. Maybe this is a good time to mention that my roommate's home. Reese took a step back to mitigate any perceived threat. I'm an acquaintance of Harold Sasson. Xavier had dug up the scant info they'd found on the previous keeper at dawn. Her eyes narrowed. I didn't see you at the funeral. The news of his passing just reached me today. I thought maybe he'd left you something of great import to both of us. A key? Maisie lurched forward, hanging onto the doorframe with both hands like she was leaning out a window. You know what it unlocks? Good. She had it. Reese relaxed by a whopping 2%. Yes. Well, what? Her reaction could mean one of two things. She knew what the key unlocked and was testing him, or she knew nothing at all. This was his shot to find out if she'd been trained, if she knew anything of what she truly was. The gates to one of hell's worst prisons. She rolled her eyes. Right. And then if you turn it the other way, it opens a portal to where Elvis is alive and well and hiding in Brazil. Don't be an ass. There you go.
I want to go to Brazil where Elvis is well and alive and hiding.
The new movie looks amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, it does look good.
Oh,
man.
I haven't even seen anything about a new movie. There's a new Elvis movie coming out.
Baz Luhrmann.
Yeah,
Baz
Luhrmann.
Yeah.
Oh, fun. No, I didn't even hear about that. So that shows you how clueless I am here up in Minnesota.
They just debuted it at Cannes in front of everyone still left in his family.
Yeah.
Oh, fun.
And the guy who plays Elvis was at the Met Gala. So that's how I knew who he was.
That's right. And he took Priscilla Presley as his date. I do remember that. Or
Yes,
she took him or something. Okay, you're right. I did see that. Okay, I'm not as completely off the grid as maybe I thought.
There you go.
Got it. That sounds like a lot of fun, Christi.
Exciting.
I hope so.
Yeah.
So is this
lots to
your
look
first
forward to.
venture into paranormal?
It is. It's the first one after a lot of just straight contemporary rom-coms. So I cannot wait. I just finished book 2 in the series Tuesday night. So things get even more exciting as it goes on.
Also, shame on whoever the monster is that told you that like paranormal romance is like dead. What were they thinking? Because I feel like there's always time for paranormal.
Yeah, I'm like, well, I still read it every night. What do you mean there's no market? But nevertheless, I have persisted and now it is coming.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. Yeah, paranormal romance never dies. It just, bump. So
I know, right? It comes back to life. Hey,
Coming back.
I'm full of bad jokes tonight. All right.
We've got a couple questions that I feel like actually both tie in together. So Sherry asked, what do you like most about writing romance? And then Linda asked, what is your writing kryptonite? So I feel like there's kind of like a hybrid question between the two of those. Feel free to go first, whoever.
Go ahead. I can think on that.
Chomping at the bit on that.
I like writing knowing that it will give people an escape. I just want to make them happy and help them escape. I used to be in theater, and for the 2 hours I had someone in the theater with me, I would make them happy. Because yes, I did happy musical theaters and operas, nothing sad and dramatic. And it would, they would walk out with a smile on their face and their heart would feel lighter. And that's the same thing I do now with books. No, I love thrillers. I could never write one, but I like giving them that escape from life and knowing that I brightened their life, even if only for a few pages.
Aw.
I know it's cheesy as hell, isn't it? But
no,
it's true.
Well, I think
she said.
Yeah, well, I think it's why do you like to read them? Well, that's why I like to write them. I mean, that's, honestly, I mean, we read it for a reason, and that reason is different from the reason I would pick up a thriller or pick up anything else. I need to escape. And when I say, and I'm going to say this, and I understand what I mean, I want to rest my brain from the chaos that is the world, right? I want to shut it off and just think about this couple and their situation because I know it's going to end well for them.
And that love makes everything better.
And to be able to create that, it's harder than everybody thinks it is. And B, is satisfying as a writer, for sure. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It always baffles me whenever I hear people outside of reading and writing romance who will use the argument against romance that, it's so predictable. You already know what's going to happen.
Well, you know that in a murder mystery, someone gets killed, they find the murderer.
They solve the crime.
That's the point. I know.
If there's a thriller because, an evil country is about to drop a nuclear bomb on America, they're going to catch it before the bomb goes up. You know what's going to happen in every book.
Well, and that's what I honestly love about romance is I love telling people, who haven't read a romance before that. What I love about it is that you go into it knowing that it's all going to work out okay. And that is something that is not given to us in real life. That is something that's not given to us in all the other genres that we read and write. So that's what I love about romance.
And I'll say this, because I read to review a lot. And I read a lot of different genres to review, like on NetGalley and whatnot. But I make a point to try to pick from different genres, just, to give myself that experience and to give back to the authors that need it, whatever. But I was reading, and this is terrible. It was a book about pie. Oh my God, I wish I could remember, because it was so cute. And I gave it a great review. And I remember diving into it thinking, this is like sitting in my comfy chair and with my feet up and just knowing and being able to appreciate how this author makes that happen. Because there are billions of different ways to get from the conflict to the HEA. And we've all tried it, right? We've all done it. We've done it with PNR. We do it with aliens. We do it with whatever, but to get to that, I appreciate the process that other writers go through to make that happen. And that to me is fun to experience.
Mm-hmm.
Very true. Yeah, I think both of you gave fantastic answers, but neither one of you said what is your writer's kryptonite. So I'm curious.
What is that? I mean, I don't know. I mean, I can tell you what mine is. I'm having trouble writing right now just because my life is upside down.
You haven't had a decent shower in 2 weeks. I mean,
and I was supposed to have this surgery in July, and it got canceled, and now it's been rescheduled for later in July, and it's setting me back in ways that I didn't expect it to. So I just am like not motivated, and I think it's just external pressure.
Sure.
Life.
I have an app I use called the Pacemaker app. Have you tried it?
Mm-mm. No.
It's game changing, and everyone I've told about it agrees that it's game changing. Look it up. You put in your start date and your finish date, and like if you want to go steadily across and what days you want to take off, and it calculates your word count for you, what you need to hit each day, and then it changes it by what you enter. So you can see, if my husband's like, you're tired, take tonight off. I'm like, but then tomorrow I'll have to write 300 more words. And I could be even more tired. You can see as it goes along, but at the beginning, you take off, you look at, like I put in the nights I'm going to the symphony, and if someone has a birthday. And so it sets up the entire 3 to 4 month writing process for you and just keeps recalibrating it every day. And that's really been helpful for everyone's motivation who's tried it.
Yeah,
and every night you put in your word count, it gives you confetti. And when you finish a book, you can actually you go to my Instagram. It's my last Instagram post besides this one. It does like 500 times the confetti to say congratulations.
Oh, cute.
I will write for confetti.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But it does help you, because when you're in the middle of your book, you're like, I can skip a day. I've still got 60,000 words to go. And then you're like, oh no, because then you can see what it changes. Instead of 700 words today, I have to do 800 words.
That's cool.
I think I'll admit that I'm probably not, I don't write in a healthy way. I wrote, let's see, in 2020, I wrote 5 books. 5, like
That's
novels, like 80,000 words. Okay. And because I marathon write, I start something and I can't stop, and I shut everything else out. And that's not a healthy way to, I do not recommend it. It's somehow the way my brain works, and I've written 40 plus books, and I've written all of them that way.
I get that though.
Right. So what happens to me is the flip side. So I probably need to try this other thing that's healthier, a way of breaking it down into like a realistic goals,
instead of writing like
barreling through until it's
15,000 words and 17 hours.
Well, and I've done that, and I don't know. And I'll admit, and I'm cutting myself a break just because I am physically not well right now. But then I get mad at myself because I'm just like, well, you're just sitting around on your ass. You should be writing, What I'm like, no, I don't feel good.
But so I want to sit and watch True Blood and eat chips. Okay. Like
that's what I want to do.
Well, and I think that's one of the things that is so interesting about, being on Romance Happy Hour, and we get to talk to so many different authors. Everybody has a different way of putting their books together. And so, and just because something works really well for one person doesn't mean it's going to work well for someone else. And I think as a beginning author, I think that's one of the areas where I struggled a lot, was trying to just figure out, I'm still trying to, kind of figure out what is my process, because even the process changes even from book to book.
Mhm.
But, you know, you kind of learn, like maybe you are just a binge writer and that's your process and that's okay. But
Hi, my name is Liz and I write.
Unless it's making you physically unhealthy, and then you got to find another way.
Yeah, I know.
well, and maybe that's just how you write, but then don't be so hard on yourself, because if you go that hard and that intense for those bursts, then
Right.
of course you're going to need time off in between versus somebody that is, you know, maybe doing a more structured.
Yeah. And I'm
you
like,
know,
I'm jealous of you people. So I'm like, I'm
drawn
going to get that app. I'm going to try it. But then I'm going to be like, I'll probably look at it the way I looked at Nano. Like I tried to do Nano one year. And I'm like, no.
I'm
But
somewhere.
that's okay.
I'm
Because
somewhere
some people
in
will look at
between.
you and they'll be like, I wish I could just write my book in 5 days and not drag it out over the course of 2 months. So it's always,
I don't recommend
you
it.
know. Sorry, Kelly,
I
what
have
were
the
you gonna
same
say?
reaction to Nano. Oh, hell no.
Okay. Good.
No, I was just saying I'm somewhere in between where I'll have times where I wish I was one of those writers who wrote every day. Like I wish I was. And in my mind, I love schedules. I keep a planner, like a paper planner. And like I wish I could schedule out time every day for my writing. But so much of my time goes towards like all, you know, the work, you know, and everything, that it's like I kind of just factor in my work where it fits. And but then I have a day like today where I spent 4 hours at a coffee shop today writing. Like so I'm not quite the binge writer that Liz is, but I'm not as schedule every day as I wish I was either.
Well, and there's nothing wrong with that. I think, you know, everybody has a different way. It's when you have a way that isn't working and you're trying to find a way that works for you that I think it gets to be a struggle. But yeah, I spent, you know, the first many months and, you know, probably, I mean, over the first year that I was even, you know, kind of trying to work at a full-time writer pace, you know, trying to figure out like, what should I be doing? And there is no should. I mean, you find out what works for you. Some people work at, you know, they don't even start writing. I know some authors that don't even start their word count for the day till like 11 o'clock at night. And then they write until, you know, like 3 or 4 in the morning. And I could never do that. I mean, my brain.
And then there's me, and I'm like, word count.
Right. Well,
I don't care. You know, I don't. I'm just like, I write if it happens, it happens.
Well, and that is the
same as
beauty.
the age-old pantser versus plotter debate. Again,
Yeah.
what works for you? But I had a friend. I am very much a plotter, and I had a friend in my critique group who was a pantser. But the problem is, she wrote romantic suspense. So we would be critiquing her, saying, you know, this is all confusing. Do you know how this ties to who the murderer is? And she'd say, well, I don't know who the murderer is. And we're like,
yeah. I don't know yet.
But I mean, she'd written other books. And so she said, yeah, I'm deleting like 30,000 words every time. And we're like, well, that's not working for you.
Yeah.
Why don't you try something in the middle? Like at least pick the murderer. If you do nothing else in the entire book to plot,
who did it
before you start writing.
But you know what? I can identify with that author because I will think that I have plotted my book. And then about, you know, 50% of the way through, it's like, oh my gosh, maybe this is really the hero. Or, you know, I mean, it's just my characters will take a 90-degree turn and surprise me. And so I just think, yeah, it's so interesting to see how different people write. Just, you know, whether it's the just day to day, like, do you write every day? Do you go by word count? Do you go by hours? Or do you plot? Do you pants? Are you somewhere in between?
And there's no wrong way.
No, there's no wrong way. And to me, the grass always looks greener, no matter what. If I was a diehard plotter, I would probably think it might be more fun to pants. If I, you know, wrote every single day for 4 hours a day, I would think, gosh, wouldn't it be fun to write my whole book in, you know, 2 weeks and then have a month and a half off or whatever. So I just think there is no right way. There is no wrong way. It's just whatever works for you. And when you find what works for you, my God, figure it out and stick to it. Because
Amen.
I think it's an ongoing process. So Do we have any other questions, Kelly? Because I just noticed the time. We are like pushing up against an hour already. I told you it would go fast.
We like wrapped that up right at the perfect time. I popped the titles from Liz and Christi in the chat, so people who maybe came in a little late can see what the readings were for. And I know Christi's books are both coming out. They're not out just yet, but Win Play Show is available now.
But I have like 38 others available.
Yeah. Between the two of you, there's so much that people could go read.
And we do have an opportunity to win. Both of you have giveaways up on the Romance Happy Hour Facebook page. So if anyone is listening to this after we've gone live, we'll leave those open for a couple days. So head over there. Liz is giving away a signed paperback and also a $50 gift card. And Christi's got a couple of ebooks that are up for grabs. And so, make sure you stop by there and check that out. And then we will be back. This is not our normal time. I have a high schooler that actually graduated from high school last Thursday, which is why we had to change the date. I know. I'm like, I didn't even cry.
Did you cry?
I got a little teary. This is my first one. I didn't even cry. I was really proud of myself. But I think I almost cried when we were talking to one of her teachers who was just a real factor and, kind of getting her through and all that. So I'm going to bawl though, when we drop off for college. Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to bawl. So
done it 3 times. Guaranteed you'll do it.
I'll be blubbering the entire way home.
My mom said she had to start driving on the way home because my dad was crying too much when they dropped me off.
Oh, my husband will be, he'll be a mess. He actually will probably be crying harder than I will. He's a softie like that. But so that is why we are on this week, which means that we have another episode next Thursday. Normally we do the second and fourth Thursday of each month. And so this month we'll have another episode next week. So I hope everybody will join us then. Kelly, thank you so much for stepping in and helping tonight. It's always so much more fun when I have a co-hostess here, and you always do such a fantastic job. So thank you. And
thank you.
And Liz, it's been great having you. You want to tell everybody real quick, just where is the best place to find you? So if it's, Facebook or Twitter or Instagram, or where's the best place to find you, Liz?
It depends on what mood you're in. You can find me on all those places. Sometimes on Twitter, I'm usually snarky and whiny. And then on Instagram, I try to be fun and pretty, but I'm not all the time. But my puppy's there a lot. Like, if you want my puppy content, TikTok and Instagram. I'm on Facebook too, a little, not as much. But my website has all my books, lizcrowe.com. And the giveaway that I'm doing is for, if you sign up for my newsletter, I'm getting ready to relaunch a series and add to a series. It was my best-selling series. And there's going to be a ton of exclusive content available only to newsletter folks. And if you go to my website, you can sign up for that. So I'm on all of them. It just depends on what mood you're in that day, what kind of Liz you want.
Sounds good. How about you, Christi?
I am on all of them too. Note the spelling. I can't even find the box. Note the spelling of my name. You can't get there with a Y or an IE, but you can find me every place under Christi Barth. And I probably pour the most of my energy into Instagram because it's just fun, and then Twitter and Facebook. But again, go to my website, christibarth.com, and you will find all the books. I just finished number 41 Tuesday night, but I think we're something like 38 now that have released. So I try to say I have something for everybody, from small town to big city, to mobsters and witness protection, to wedding planners, to inn restorers, to royals. So whatever you like, there's some way to get into my books.
And soon, fallen angels.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Excellent. All right. Well, thank you, both of you, for taking time out of your Thursday to join us. And we will see you later. Thanks, everybody who came tonight and listens afterwards. And we will see you next week.
Thank you so much.
All right. Bye.